I want to pivot now to Venezuela, Colombia. You're representing the president of Colombia against U.S. sanctions. Venezuela, I see a lot of people rising up in the streets demanding the return of Maduro. They want their president back. Even people who were not supporters of Maduro are out there saying, yeah, but this is an attack on our country, on our sovereignty, and we want our guy back. I mean, I didn't like the guy, wanted the guy out of power, but I still want him back. Like, we can't have a foreign country coming in, a nuclear power in particular, coming in and swooping up the guy in the middle of the night.
Right.
What is the end game there? I mean, what is your take? You've been very, very much involved in South America. You've written many books about South America and what is going on, including the plot to overthrow Venezuela, which is happening right now. What is and Trump now going after the Colombian president, Gustavo Petro? What do you think is actually happening there? I mean, then people point out, well, it was the CIA that actually pumped a ton of drugs into South America, started a lot of these cartels. That this is what is the? I guess I'm just really at a loss. I do not understand why it's in our best interest to have a poor, struggling neighbor. I would,
Right.
when I'm looking to buy a house, for example, I want all my neighbors to be doing well. It's not in my best interest to be in a neighborhood surrounded by people not doing so well, because it always comes on to you, right? I mean, they'll break into your home. There's going to be crime in the streets. It's not going to be good. So you want a nice, clean neighborhood where everybody's doing well and feeling good. And so why are we constantly meddling and seemingly collapsing Latin America and Central America? It's just so bizarre to me why we wouldn't be so invested in trying to build these nations up and helping them thrive. What do you think?
And again, if you care about immigration, which Trump and his supporters claim they care about, you don't destroy other nations. That leads to mass immigration, right?
Right.
The three countries that have provided the most immigration south of the border to the U.S. have been, in recent years, Honduras, El Salvador, and Guatemala. And why? Because the U.S. ran death squad governments there for decades, right? Destroyed those countries and led to that immigration, right? If there's been a mass emigration from Venezuela because of the sanctions that the U.S. has imposed against them. So, again, but I think the goal is chaos. I think they want to destroy these nations so that they've decided that chaos and anarchy is the best means to be able to super exploit other countries' resources, right?
Yeah.
It used to be that the U.S. would want to support a strong man somewhere, right, who would serve U.S. interests and do those things, make sure the oil was flowing to the right people, drugs were flowing to the right people, that sort of thing. They've figured out now that it's better to have no government at all and just be able to plunder at will. And really, one of the models for that is the Democratic Republic of Congo, which no one talks about, in which the U.S. did just that. They had, after they murdered Patrice Lumumba, the democratically prime minister, they put in Mobutu, who was a dictator, and the U.S. supported him for years until they realized that even he wasn't as dependable as they wanted him to be. So they just they collapsed the government. And there's virtually no functioning government now. And, so you have children working in mines, you have no limits on the ability of companies to plunder Congo of its very rich resources. Probably the most richest. It's probably the most resource-rich country on earth. And I think that's the model. I think they would be happy if in Venezuela it were balkanized and there was little to no government, and they just go in and they would just take over the oil fields.
Right.
And they've done that in Syria. The U.S. is still occupying a third of Syria, the most oil rich, and taking the oil.
Right.
Because there's no government there to defend it.
It's a very
Libya,
interesting
the same thing. Yeah.
Right. And it's an interesting model that seems to be unique to the U.S. and Israel, I would say. Israel, but I could be wrong. There might be other nations that are also attempting it in this way, where the end goal seems to be destabilize your neighbors, keep them unstable, keep them fighting each other, because somehow it makes you stronger. I mean, that's what Israel's game has been in the Middle East, is they'll grow stronger the weaker their neighbors are. And we've seen we've seemed to have that same exact model. Maybe they got it from us because we certainly started well before they started it. The whole model of, well, keep your neighbors weak. That's how you build strong. But that doesn't seem to be the tactic of China, for example, who's going around building everybody. And I don't know if there's any other nation that takes that. Did the British, I'm trying to remember, like during the British Empire, did they go around destabilizing, or did they, certainly there's a lot to criticize with the British Empire, but I don't know, maybe where they took over things got better. I think there maybe could be an argument to be made for that, like during their time as an empire.
At least if it didn't get better, they certainly did want stability, and they certainly would at least build some stuff, right? Even the Romans built aqueducts, which still exist. The U.S. ain't building any aqueducts. It's not building anything. It lays waste to countries and it leaves.
Right.
And that is what it's doing. Look at Gaza. I mean, my Lord. And they talk about reconstructing it. I'll believe that when I see it.
Yeah.
So
I'm just trying to think if there's any other empire like that's the tactic, or if this is unique to the Pax Americana empire, and then what Professor Zhang says will be the Pax Judaica empire. Is this like a specific tactic of just we're the only ones really doing it this way, or I'm sure if we go back enough in history, we'll probably find empires that destroyed everything in their wake. But as you mentioned, the Romans, some communities championed them coming in. They were like, oh, the Romans are here. They're going to give us running water and all kinds of cool stuff. Like, all right, we're going to be modernized. This is going to be fun. And same with the Chinese. They're being welcomed in everywhere they land. They land their planes and their diplomats show up and everybody gives them a standing ovation and welcomes them into their countries. Their empire building is building. That's what they're doing. So it is a very bizarre method that, it's like, how long can this work? I don't know.
Well, yeah. Well, again, what is it supposed to be working? What is supposed to be happening, and who's it supposed to be working for? I think in the day, colonialism also was about, in addition to controlling resources, it was about controlling labor and gaining cheap labor in the countries you colonized, right? Now labor is considered superfluous, right? We're moving towards a more technological world where you're going to have robots and AI, and people and labor will not be as important. And so the resources themselves are more valued than the people. And that's why I believe it's moved to this different form of capitalism that doesn't demand stability, and a workforce that is taken care of, at least to some extent. It's now, again, I think people are superfluous, and that's why you're seeing again the repression in the United States. The 10 guys that own most of the world's wealth, they've decided they don't need us anymore.
Yeah.
And I do think that is their view. And they think they're going to hide in a bunker and they're going to have robots to give them stuff and build stuff for them. Whether that's possible or not, I'm not an expert on whether that's possible. But what I do know is they believe it is. And that's the future they want.
Basically, we're all going to be enslaved in one way or another. That's
enslaved or killed or just sedated all day. They'll be happy if we just smoke pot and watch video games all day and just leave them alone.
Well, and they've talked about that. They've said work will be optional, money will be optional. So basically, we'll just give you enough to live. You'll just sit around, smoke dope, and play video games. And you're right. This does feel like a war. Yeah. It feels like a war on people. It's a war on people, and it's everything they say they're doing, then they're doing things that are the opposite. If you're destabilizing Latin America, you're going to end up with immigration into the country. Right. And yet they say they're fighting immigration. Then they say, oh, we're fighting drug use, while, like you say, cutting the programs to help people ramp down from their addictions. They're not doing anything about pharmaceutical companies that are starting the addictions to begin with for many of these people. And instead, they're actually pardoning people that are convicted of trafficking loads and loads of cocaine into the country. And, none of it is making any sense, because it really does feel like everything they say they're doing for our benefit, they're actually doing behind the scenes against our benefit. and just gaslighting
No, it is
us.
Orwellian. It's doublespeak. It is Orwellian doublespeak. War is peace. Love is hate. Anti-drugs is pro-drugs. No, I mean it is. It's. Now I think though most of the population isn't falling for it. I think most of the population's horrified by what's happening. They just don't know how to resist it necessarily. I mean, at least in Minneapolis, people are trying to resist it somehow, and
Yeah.
that's their only salvation, I think.
Yeah, we cannot have masked men running around the streets, kidnapping people, harassing people, asking people for their papers. And I don't want to hear any, but it's different. This is different. No, it isn't. It isn't different. If we give away our rights now because you agree with it on this particular point, you want all the illegals gone. Okay, then when it is President AOC, she's going to come after you for something else using the exact same tools because the tools are there. And that's what people need to wake up to. The tools never go away. They just get repurposed. And now even the administration is coming out saying that they're going to go after legal citizens, people that are legally allowed to be here. They just announced that they're going to go after, people who are legal, but that they're not even convicted of fraud, but accused of fraud. So they're using that, an accusation, just like what they did with the fishermen on the boats, right? It's an accusation of, we think you're sending drugs to the United States, so we're going to kill you. And now they're going to go after people who are just accused of fraud, who have papers, who are legally allowed to be here, and they're going to try to deport them. They've just announced that they're going to be starting to do that. They're looking into that. And then Trump trying to end birthright citizenship or trying to revoke citizenship from Americans. It always starts with the other, and then it just keeps piling up and piling up. And that is why we have to be so fierce in protecting our rights, even, when we don't agree with who this is kind of the point of defending free speech. You defend the speech that even when you don't like the speech, even when you find the speech to be abhorrent and vile, you still defend it because you understand the principle that it could end up coming back to haunt you. And that is, people seem to lose sight of that, and instead are just cheering it on, the loss of rights, and say, yeah, but this is different. Yeah, but this is different. And I just keep hearing that. Yeah, but this is different. No, it isn't. Tell us about the Colombian president, Gustavo Petro. What is the U.S. trying to claim again? So is he next? I mean, are they going to kidnap him in the middle of the night like they did Maduro, do you think?
Well, that's a fear. That's a fear because, in fact, Trump at one point said that he was next, that Petro was next. He said he better watch his ass. They're claiming he's somehow a drug trafficker when, in fact, he has spent his entire political career fighting the drug cartels. He's done a lot to fight the drug trade in Colombia as president. And but what they don't like about him, a couple things. One, he's been one of the most outspoken leaders in the world in support of Palestine.
Mm. Like Maduro.
He also made it. What's that?
Like
Along with
Maduro.
Maduro, yeah, and like Maduro. While he has disagreements with Maduro, he made it clear he would not support a U.S. intervention in Venezuela. He would not allow Colombia to be used as a staging ground to attack Venezuela. That was verboten, and he's been very critical of these bombings of the boats. Many of the people killed are Colombian, his own citizens. So I think all those things combined have made him an enemy of Trump, and that's why they put him on the sanctions list, and that's why they've threatened him. Now, again, there is going to be a meeting in Washington between Petro and Trump. Petro will certainly try to negotiate solutions to some of these problems. And I pray that that will be possible,
So he's scheduled to visit Washington and talk to Trump?
Yes, I mean, that's what he's been told. We're trying to get assurances on that, that he'll be able to be brought here safely and all that.
Okay.
Because sometimes
Yeah, I mean, do you
promises are
trust
made
that? I
and,
mean,
yeah,
I mean,
of course,
seems like,
one
if you're going to
has to
show up,
wonder. What? Yeah,
yeah, you don't even need to be kidnapped in the middle of the night. They can just keep you here.
that's not a small concern, Kim, obviously. But he wants to have a dialogue with Trump. I think it's a good idea. Why not? I think dialogue is always important. But yeah, there's risks. There's huge risks and all that.
Yeah. Dan Kovalik, thank you so much for joining us. A U.S. human rights attorney. He's also representing right now Colombian President Gustavo Petro in his challenges against the U.S. Sanctions and human rights cases, including the killing of Colombian fishermen. Also the author of The Plot to Overthrow Venezuela, which is back in print after accurately predicting what is happening today with Maduro. And we do have that link down below, and also where you can follow Dan on X. Dan, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate your insight and all of your work and everything that you do.
Thank you, Kim. I'm a big fan. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you for watching this clip from the full Kim Iversen Show, which you can watch Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific at KimIversonShow.com. See you there.